do women really need us to be part of this conversation?
Oh my God, absolutely. Because every woman has some kind of male relative, a father, a brother, a brother-in-law, cousin, male colleague, son, grandson. Of course.
They said, "Oh my gosh, absolutely! Please talk. Please learn about this. Please educate yourself. Please support us. We're largely suffering in silence. Doctors are not trained to support us. Our parents didn't, our mothers didn't prepare us for this."
I always believe for society to grow, men and women have to learn together. You don't separate them. And this is
Hmm.
the same thing.
And I agree with you 100%. I think we're on a journey together. I have to think for a second that we really are stronger together than
Yeah,
stronger apart. And
yeah.
women as a whole, Punam, you play such an important role in our life. Women really, really do mold us to be the. You are producing an interesting movie,
Yeah,
and that's called Men on Pause. And
yeah.
you're dragging us men live and kicking. You're driving out a subject that's in so many cases taboo. You're pulling
Yeah.
it out from underneath the blanket into the spotlight. Why? Tell us more. It's fascinating.
So I had no plan. I made a comedy years ago, and I had no plans of making another movie. And I always explain it as there's a story that Michael Jackson once said, and he said when he was sleeping, he was woken up in the middle of the night with lyrics in his head, but he was too tired to write them. So when he went back to sleep, he heard a voice saying, "If you don't write them, I'm going to give them to Prince." So Prince was my idol. So I was like, "Oh my God, what is this story?" And he basically got up and he wrote the song, and it was the Earth song. And I feel like it's the same with this film. I had no plans to make it, wasn't really bothered, but doors just kept opening. And it was like either you're going to make this or it's going to go to somebody else. And because everyone started saying yes, and hotels were giving me free locations, I was getting a free studio from my friend. People like you were saying yes, Dr. Louise Newson, Marissa Peers. I was like, okay, I obviously need to do this. So it wasn't even a passion project. I feel like somebody's using me to make this. But what I wanted to do is the reason I wanted to do it about men is because I was sitting in a party once and a lot of women were talking about menopause. Then the husbands joined in, and I realized us women is not going to make any difference talking and talking. The husbands need to get involved, and they started explaining how they felt, what they didn't understand. So I realized, as well as the men thinking women are crazy, a lot of women were going, "I hate my husband. He doesn't understand me," because neither is talking about it. And
Yes.
because I think this is the first generation that's really going, "What is going on?" You know, both husband and wives need to come together, and that's how it happened. It literally was a complete like, okay, a little project, let's try it, and then it just blew up.
That's amazing. When you're saying that, it reminds me of some of the statistics that I've seen about the high divorce rates within the menopause years, and correlation and causality, right? Like I've even seen as high as in the 70s, like something like 73% of women who got divorced during that period of time attributed menopause in some way to their divorce. And when you think about the lack of communication and the lack of understanding and the confusion and the mental pain and the physical pain, all of those things and that it seemingly comes out of nowhere for women because they weren't prepared for this. It's not actually a surprise that it can impact relationships. It's not a surprise that it can even dissolve relationships. And I just think that there's so many of these relationships that have ended that didn't have to.
So
If it's
I have three family members, all women who initiated a divorce in their late 40s, all had the
Yeah,
same symptoms of crying, "I hate my husband." I didn't have the knowledge then what was going on, and I'm convinced it was because of the menopause. And
yeah.
as part of the film, I do have a lawyer who basically started the menopause project where she saw that it was during a certain age a lot of women were coming in for divorces, and she put two and two together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. So is this movie, and I know a little bit about it for obvious reasons, but I have to ask you this question. Is it a serious take? Is it a humorous take? How are you blending in these
So every
someone
every
like
time
Dr. Louise Newson to a little bit of humor?
Okay, so every time I watch anything to do with menopause, it just makes me depressed. Like, where is the light at the end of the tunnel? And I thought the only way to get men and even young people, a lot of teenagers, especially teenage girls, still don't even know what it is. I needed to add some humor. And I've always added humor in every TV show I've done, but not to the point that it takes away from the information. So in the film, I decided, if I can swear a little bit, to play myself, but an extreme version, which was a boss bitch director going through perimenopause. And she has two male assistants who annoy the hell out of her. So these, between us, we're doing sketches in between all the information that we get. Because I didn't want women to look at it and go, oh my goodness, so we've got like 30, 40, 50 symptoms. What is there to look forward to? And at the end of the day, life is difficult the older you get, you know, it's not easy. And there are some things you just need to laugh about because there's nothing you can control. You're going to go through it. So let's try and do it in a fun way where possible, but not obviously negate the seriousness of it too. Yeah.
Lawrence and I are trying to come at it from the angle of we're not doctors, but we are husbands and we are men that are passionate about this. We care about it, and we want other husbands who would also feel the same way if they just better understood the information to care about it as well. So that's our angle, right? And then there's other,
So I'll tell you the biggest thing my whole mindset changed is when my mum was going through it, the doctor said, do not take HRT because it's linked to
Mhm.
cancer. Literally, after talking to everybody in that documentary and with news that's come out, I'm all for it. Literally, that's what changed within the space of a month of filming this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
And
my whole
and
life, I was like, no, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
but I've been having that conversation this morning, and HRT has changed my wife's life without a shadow of a doubt. And she started from the starting point of I will never take HRT because of
Yeah.
cancer. So, ladies, if HRT is going to improve your life, you need to go and have a serious conversation with a medical expert because a way of improving our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even know when the estrogen goes down, that's what causes all the aches and pains. And when I look back at it, at that age, I used to think, oh God, my aunties are getting old. And they're like, it wasn't old age, it was a lack of estrogen that nobody knew about.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's when you start to total up all of the effects of, there's estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone at play. And when you total up all the effects of just a loss of estrogen on how it affects areas of the brain, how it affects the body physically and mentally, explains so many things that women are
Yeah.
dealing with, like frozen shoulder or weight gain or mood swings, or lack of sleep, hot flashes, especially. And to Lawrence's point, look, it may not be for every woman, but the from the doctors that I've been listening to, like Dr. Mary Claire Haver, it is something that is for the majority of women. And if it can help with these things like hot flashes that are keeping a woman up at night, that are causing brain fog and memory loss and making daily life that much more difficult, at least look into it.
You know what really shocks me, Poonam, about menopause, and so many women go, well, I'm through the hardest part of menopause, and I've been in it for 3 to 4 years. I'm now 58 years of age or 60 years of age. I'm almost over it. And it's like, no, you're not almost
No.
over it. You've just learned to accept it.
Dr. Louise Newson says it never stops, it stops when you die.
Correct. You're going to be post menopause to the day you die. And this is when I give you women so much credit. You're so tough compared to us guys because you girls really can tough it out. There's no doubt. But just because you live through something and you learn to equalize it, to balance it and to live with it on a daily basis doesn't mean you have to live like that. You
Mm,
know, it just having more anxiety and accepting it as part of old age, ladies, that's wrong. You
yeah.
Yep.
don't have to do that. You're going to be post menopause until the day you die.
The fact that all of these years they've been caring for everyone and everything around them, and then all of a sudden there's just, they're terrorized from the inside, physically and mentally. They can't continue to carry, nor should they, everything that they've been carrying. And so there has to be this sense of, I'm going to stop caring about some of these other things. And basically, the message that I hear from that club is, it's not that we don't care about you, our husband, or we don't care about our family or our friends. It's that we just don't care about the bullshit anymore.
Well, when when I was growing up, no one would ever question like our moms or aunties. Oh, you put a bit of weight on. It wasn't a big deal. You just got older. It's fine. You're not as physical active. Now it's constant. How to lose that belly fat during menopause. The pressure
Hmm.
to always still look good as well. It's like, come on, and it's looking younger as well, and fillers and Botox. I'm just like, it's so much pressure. And who are we measuring it towards? What? The modern society, the Kardashians. I mean, come on. Where's the whole natural way of just aging in a graceful, relaxing way? And it's expensive doing all that as well, you know?
That's
Yeah,
it.
but I think that is the piece of the jigsaw puzzle that we all forget is, and I hopefully I won't annoy too many doctors here, but plastic surgery and cosmetic surgery is driven by women of a certain age, and it's a big marketplace. And
Oh,
they do, the way they advertise, the way they show you what you could look like. You can see why people are still trying to chase their youth. You can see, it's the glamour, it's the fancy cars, the holiday, attracting that perfect person. It's everything that goes with it, and it's just a sad state of society.
And
I
so
think it's
much of
just
this is out of their control. You know,
yeah, and also I think it's to do with how content you are within yourself, and how I think the biggest thing I've learned as I've got older with life is acceptance. You have to accept everything that happens and everything that's going to happen. It's a hard
Correct.
work.
Well said.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And the husbands who can also accept that reality and appreciate
Mm,
that and
mm,
remember why they actually got married, to that woman in the first place, which hopefully wasn't just how she looks.
yeah.
And I think that some are, I mean, I was saying this to Lawrence the other day, some of the men who come into comments and who comment on all of this in such a way that they would say, well, I'll just trade her in for somebody younger, or she's not who I thought she was, or anything. I actually kind of wonder, how did you get married in the first place? There's a profound sense of loss that women feel as they're going through menopause, and it's not just the things that you can see. And we know about anxiety and we know about depression, but even behind that, there's this sense of, I want myself back. I
Yeah.
I've lost myself, and what's hard about that, what I'm starting to hear more and more from women is there's also you're talking about acceptance, but the acceptance is also that you're never going to get her back.
No, it's a sad, it's very sad actually when you think about it. Then you've got to kind of find a new side of yourself, the new person that you are.
Hmm.
And trying to let go of that old self is really difficult because you've clung to it for your 40 or 45, 50 years. And it's like,
How
now what? Now who am I? What do I want from my life? And careers can change. And
Hmm.
like I said, marriages can stop. People can just leave a country. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And
Yeah.
it's a weird thing. You can't explain it because of the hormones and everything. It's so hard to explain.
how
Yeah.
far are you in the production? Are you almost complete? Are you into the editing process? When are you going to launch it?
So all the filming was finished a month ago, and now I'm back in England and I have to edit it. I've just been taking a bit of time out before I edit it because I think I needed time just a break from it. So I have to edit it over the next few weeks, and then we're doing a premiere of it in October because in October we have the second menopause summit in Dubai. They did the first one last year. It was quite a breaking event, and that's on the 23rd of October. So I'll be sitting on a panel there, and we'll show a new trailer. We have an original trailer which I'll post close to the film. Then we have a new trailer which I'll post there. I'm hoping to do a press and media premiere for it. I am trying to contact some cinemas and see what I can do, and then putting it online. And we are looking obviously for any potential big or small sponsors for the film, which will be credited and on Instagram and within the film's credits, because all of that goes towards the marketing. Because the beauty of this film is literally, I was very blessed. Every single person, the crew, the cast, all the interviewees, everybody did it for free. Because I just think there was a good message at the end of it, really. So I was very fortunate.
Very, very good. And when do you think someone like the breakfast show or one of the breakfast shows on ITV or BBC because I don't think you're attached to any one of them. I think you're independent with this. When do you see you getting invited onto some of these shows? Because we are talking October. That obviously is menopause month. It's a hugely and the world's starting to sit up and take notice of menopause at the moment. It's becoming a boardroom topic. How does a breakfast show not invite you on and get you to come and talk about this real important topic and help push this out to more people that need it?
Well, basically, as a journalist, I will reach out to a lot of press, send a press release anyway, or get someone on my behalf to send it. And then in Dubai, we have like Dubai Eye Radio where I work as a freelancer. They're already open to interviewing me. So it's about just pushing it and everyone else suggesting it, and say that we want to talk about it. Just using my contacts and everything like that, really, because it'd be great for people to watch and promote it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just reaching
Jesse, if you
out to
don't
me.
mind, if I'm just going to jump in here and just go, Oprah Winfrey, if you're listening to this, can I suggest that you invite Pudam onto your show? Her sitting in a panel alongside some of the other celebrities over there would be a fantastic message. So if Oprah's listening, let's hope it gets straight into her inbox.
I think I already did. I sent an Instagram to her inbox. I'm very good at approaching everybody and anybody because eventually someone will say yes. So I'm not shy about that. But thank you for that. We'll keep doing that.
Well, Lawrence, you could have just asked me. I would have texted her, but if you want to just do that, that's fine. But so, Poonam, where does it go from here for you? This movie comes out, and then how do you, is there a part two? Is there a way to carry this message into the next phase?
Well, the funny thing is, I never envisioned a part two in any capacity, but somebody gave me a great idea, and they said, because we touch on this, because this is still a long, in 10 years we're still going to find out more about menopause. We're literally just scraping the surface,
Mhm.
even this film, because we're finding out more and more. And I said to somebody, said I could see the film being broken down into series, such as a Netflix series, where one series is about HRT, one is about alternative medicines, one is about the effects of marriage, one is effects about, there's just too many topics. Do you know what I mean? That would be amazing, if that's something that we could break it down as a series. For me, I'm putting this out, hopefully getting loads of people to promote it. But other than that, like I said, I never planned to do this film. So I'm just open to the universe saying, okay, what do you want me to do next? I'll just do it. And it even got to a point where I had one guest, a gentleman, to come and talk about his relationship that broke up. And he brought a female friend. We had a chat for 2 minutes and straight away I said, can you sit down? I'll interview you two. It was literally like things like that was happening. And then what I do, I would ask ad lib questions as a journalist, and then I'm putting them all together. So it's a lot of work editing it now to make it stand out. And I'm nervous about editing it because I'm like, I hope it's as good as I heard everyone's talking about it, because you just don't know until you do the edit. In my head, it's one thing, but who knows what it's going to be like. And as a perfectionist, I am very critical of my own work. So I have to kind of think, just relax, okay? If people like it, they like it. If it helps anybody, they help anybody. If not, it was a great project to do and I met great people.
Yeah, and you've got some particularly strong people with some huge networks. I mean, I've spoken to Dr. Louise Newson, and she's obviously on the show as well. And she has just a monster following. There's no doubt here in the UK, and I think when you get your show to a position where we can all start to share it, I
Yeah.
think I think you stand a huge chance of it going viral.
But the reason interviewed husbands and men is just to see how it's affected them, because I think we forget that they're struggling with it too, because they're losing their wife in some capacity.
Of
They
course.
have to pick up the pieces in so many ways. Um, and if you lose half of your partner to like some health issues, or she doesn't want to come out anymore, your social life struggles, your career struggles, who's taking care of the kids and the house? So we forget that they need support too.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point, and that's something that I've been thinking about more and more in my messaging to husbands about advocating for women and educating them about what women are going through in menopause, because I don't want to leave out that fact, right? I don't want it to sound like it's an entirely a one-way street and that everything's, wonderful for the husbands and it's just only hard
Yeah.
for the wives. And I struggle with trying to boil the ocean here, so to speak, right? Like you can't do everything at once. And right now
Mm.
it feels to me like the biggest need is to help men understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And then but another need that is hard to measure in importance is also to help men understand that we realize that it's hard for them too, and
You know,
that's a difficult balance.
I genuinely believe that there's a bigger place in society for people like Jesse and myself to have man speak with another man, to try and put it into
absolutely.
language that he understands.
Yeah.
So, as women, the reason we cope with so many things emotionally is because we have our circle of sisters all the time. We always talk to women, right? Women's retreats. Men don't do that enough.
Yep, 100%. And I
Correct.
remember I was remarking to Lawrence when we first met. I was like, I've never had a conversation with another man about menopause ever. I've never even heard of one happening. Can you imagine that when we
Yeah,
all are having our wives are going through this and a billion women on the planet are going through it and not I've had a lot of opportunities where it could have come up.
yeah,
Never. And
yeah,
I think, when you think about, like Lawrence was just saying, an opportunity for men like us to be talking about this in man speak, to normalize this conversation. I was explaining to a man on TikTok the other day, think of estrogen like oil in your car, okay? And blood flow is like gasoline. You have to have the gasoline or the car won't run, but you don't have to have it filled with oil for it to run. It can actually be relatively low on oil. It just won't run very well. That's what low on estrogen is like for a woman. Her body will still work, but it just isn't working as well as it used to. And that's
that's a
physically and
really,
mentally.
that's a really good example. I like that. Great. Use the men terms, the cars and the engines. That's brilliant.
Right. I
That's
can jump
amazing.
in and just say that it really impacted me when Halle Berry on Oprah's special said that sex for her felt like she had razor blades in her vagina. And when you hear it described that way, like it just it's a different level of realism than just to
Yeah,
say that something hurts. When you describe it in that
yeah,
way, you just realize how traumatic it actually is.
yeah,
And I do think that some of these types of things that we're trying to get across need to be put in that type of frame of mind, that type of framework, in order to have
yeah.
the impact that they deserve.
So many men say to us, she's just being difficult. She's playing
Mm.
up on this. She doesn't love me. She doesn't want to have sex with me. She doesn't find me attractive. And then we go, hold on, hold on. Just think about it like this as a man. If you had a sore on your penis, and every time you tried to have intercourse with your wife, you were in excruciating pain, how many times would you want to use your penis? And every man goes, oh, no, I saw my penis. I'm not going to do it. Well, how do you think she feels? She's got narrowing of the vagina. She's got the thinning of the vagina. She has less elasticity. She has numerous things going on down there. We haven't even spoken about dry vagina, that it feels like sandpaper. So we don't try and explain that to men about what's wrong with her vagina. Explain to them, if you had a sore on your penis, you
Well,
wouldn't want to have
Lawrence, you obviously
sex
know a
as
lot
much
more
as possible.
about this than me, I have to say, which is like kudos to you. I was just thinking of a story actually, and I can't remember. It must be brain fog. I've forgotten now. It was
Well,
something
I
that
can.
that shock
Correct.
value. That's it. I remember now. An Irish friend of mine, she said to me, she actually said to her husband in a joking way, she just goes, I don't mind if you want to go and sleep with someone. I just don't want to have sex. I just don't. You're like this. He's like, what are you talking about? She goes, I get it now. When people have affairs or other more than one wife, she literally was in that state of mind. She just didn't want to be any intimate in any capacity.
Yeah,
So
it's sad, isn't it? And you
yeah,
can see why that really impacts both the woman and the man, because she probably loves him to bits, but she
mm,
just doesn't want to have that
yeah,
closeness for some unknown reason. Whatever's going on with her being and with her brain, and it's so sad to know that menopause impacts every cell in your body. We're
yeah,
talking here about your brain, your heart, your skin, the itchiness of your skin, your hearing, your eyes,
mm,
your oral health. We're talking every part of your body.
And because that's the case, something about sex that I just recently heard a woman say that I found to just another one of those where all you have that light bulb go off that okay, it makes sense. She described the lack of intimacy or the lack of sex drive that she was experiencing as being in part just a result of just sheer overwhelm of everything that we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes. It sure there dry vagina, the physical symptoms, that's real. The impact of estrogen and testosterone on her libido, that's real. But on top of that, she just can't relax.
Yeah.
She just can't let go of the
Mm.
sheer amount of overwhelm, whether it's anxiety, whether it's family, whether it's work, whether it's the stresses that she's carrying because she doesn't have a support network around her. Just all of it, right?
Yeah.
It's almost all of it, and that is and how does she ever get to a place where she just even desires something like sex because of
And it is
her
a shame
mindset?
because you might think, well, the husband should understand, but there's also where the husband wants to get intimate, he wants to feel that closeness, and he can't. So he's struggling just as much too.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Mm-hmm.
true.
Well, being a woman myself, after doing this film, I actually have a newfound respect for women when I think about what my mum went through, what my grandmother went through, um, and nobody talked about it, and they struggled in silence. So that's the first thing as a woman to other women who've come before us, and the ones that are struggling with it right now. And then I think about my nieces and the younger generation and what they're going to go through. And my niece will always say, every time you say something, it's always to do with the menopause. I'm like, because you're going to go through this and you need to be prepared. But also, we don't want to scare people. Some people do go through it fine and they breeze through it. There's a few things. But I think it's like anything. Back in the day, people wouldn't talk about period pains or menstrual cycles. Just the more you talk, the more we take the stigma away, and the easier it makes us all just to understand what's happening and just respect someone's space or go, okay, I know someone who can help you. But if we keep it inside, that's what causes a lot of mental health issues and, conflicts. So it's just about being open. And I hope that this film, everyone supports it when it's out on YouTube, and just like have a laugh because as human beings, we're only here for a short amount of time on this planet, and we're going to go through ups and downs. So let's just laugh through as much of it as we can, and then take care of each other. That's it.
Beautiful message. And you're 100% right. I think about, as I talk more and more about this, I think about my daughter. I know what my wife's going through, and I feel the pain and I hear the pain that women are going through. But I think about my daughter, and I just, like what you're doing with your movie and what we're trying to do here with this podcast, we're trying to, as much as we're trying to affect the now, we're really trying to affect the future.
Mm.
Absolutely.
What really scares me is how many men who are similar age to what we are in their 40s and 50s don't actually want to talk and are nervous to talk about periods and about menstrual cycles, and they actually have no knowledge about it either. And now we're asking them to learn more about menopause, and it just dials back right to the start where, as men, women play a huge role in our lives, and we should understand from day one what makes them tick.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to change everybody's. Not everyone's going to be able to talk about everything, but if you just make it people aware, at least it'll make people think, or men understand, even if they don't question their wives. There's a lot of cultures, Indian cultures, Arabic cultures, they don't talk about this stuff.
Hmm.
So, but if they're aware of it, they may, be a little bit more patient.
Excellent. Poonam, thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming on. It's lovely to see you again.
You too.